I'm Mudcup, and let's talk about the Tri-Slosher Nouveau. First, let's talk about the parameters. The Tri has a very generous hitbox as well as a fast kill time, with its sloshing speed being 24 frames. With the Nouveau kit, it has a Splat Bomb, Inkstorm, and of course the main weapon, the Tri-Slosher. This combination allows it to apply major pressure wherever it would like to direct its attention. Looking at its damage, it'll be a 2-shot kill most of the time, but sometimes it'll go up to 3 depending on your elevation difference. With it taking 6% of its ink tank per slosh, it'll get 16 sloshes per tank. The 15 frames of white ink it gets is negligible though. For those who don't know what white ink is, it's an amount of time after certain actions requiring ink, such as throwing a sub or shooting, that you can't recover your ink. The Tri's is low enough that you will almost never notice this though. Its effective range is slightly less than that of the splatter shot. This is perfect because it'll generally be in those close quarters fights against those types of weapons. Next, let's talk about what the Tri-Nouveau wants to do. As a competitive player, I will mostly be talking within an organized team context, but many of these pointers also apply to ranked and turf solo queue. The Tri-Nouveau has an extremely low play rate in the competitive scene. However, in the constant armor meta that has persisted through the entire game's existence, it proves a useful asset, as its wide hitbox will always do enough damage to break armors, and have the potential to break several in one slosh. In a more broad sense though, I have found that in competitive, the main goal of this weapon is to splat people who are overextended, grouped, and to trade out as often as possible. This comes with an asterisk though. It has the ability to get rapid kills in quick succession, so it doesn't want to just trade out one for one. It would always like to go positive, this meaning getting more kills than your one death. But when used correctly, what sets this weapon apart is that it can guarantee the one-for-one trade. When it comes to gear, the Tri-Nouveau is extremely versatile. Here is my build. I tried to focus it around spamming bombs, which allows me to deal with ranged threats as well as assist my teammates in fights, despite my location. I really like Ninja Squid, as it allows me to get within my range easier, allowing for more consistent kills and trades. For the playstyle that I have highlighted, I feel like Ninja Squid is almost a requirement. Stealth is also very important, but if you're feeling spicy, Drop Roller can have some humorous effects. Another common ability that many people run on the Tri-Nouveau are a few subs of ink recovery. As shown earlier though, I prefer sub efficiency, as I know I spam bombs. With the amount that I run, I go from 5 to 6 sloshes after I've thrown my bomb. And with comeback active, that adds another slosh after that. Swim speed up is also a super common ability, but again, it's more preferential and not required. Many people also run quick respawn. While I can understand why they do this, the logic being that they'll be in a lot of fights and it'll decrease their respawn time on missed engagements, I personally feel it's counterintuitive to the niche that it has. The Tri-Nouveau wants to be hyper aggressive. If you want it to be more passive, you should play the vanilla variant with burst bomb and armor. But what sets Tri-Nouveau apart from the other aggressive weapons such as the splatter shot or carbon is that its range and quick kill time allow it to ensure the trade when you're engaging in smart fights. Thus, quick respawn would almost never be active as you're supposed to be getting those trades. In the end though, gear is tailored to your playstyle. You must decide what you think is helpful for how you play the weapon. These are just common abilities that other Tri-Nouveau players use. Before we get to what's good with this weapon and how to play it, let's talk about where it struggles. The Tri-Nouveau isn't perfect and definitely doesn't like a lot of situations. It absolutely hates to be in the neutral game. This is where both teams are to stand off and nobody's beginning an engagement. Players are building their specials, poking bombs, and shooting with range. So without somebody nearby who is overextended, anchors are going to be watching the direct approaches and angles that you would most likely want to take as a Tri-Nouveau. All it can really do is attempt to paint for its Inkstorm and throw bombs. It's also very easily poked at a distance by other anchors and long-range weapons, and there's not much the Tri-Nouveau can do to stop this other than throwing a bomb and backing up a little bit. The Tri-Nouveau also doesn't like to match up against high fire rate mid-range weapons or weapons with a lot of chip. These weapons are easily able to space you out, and the only options you get are to either disengage or pray that they miss their shots before you get into range. Because of this, weapons like the Sloshing Machine, Dually Squelchers, and the 96 Gals are the Tri-Nouveau's worst enemy. Another thing I have to mention are its dead zones. The Tri-Slosher shoots 3 different projectiles to create this shape that it shoots. Between these shots, you can see 4 major areas where there aren't hitboxes. These are very important to know when you're playing this weapon, as if a player is standing here, you won't do any damage to them. So when you're playing it, try to keep your brain engaged and using that big middle hitbox so that you have the most consistent kills at range, as well as avoiding those dead zones. Now we're here. Let's talk about where this thing excels. The Tri-Slosher, of course, has plenty of pluses. Generally, when I'm thinking about playing the Tri-Slosher Nouveau, there has to be at least one of 2 criteria met. Those being that the enemy has 2 or more short-range shooters, or the map heavily favors it. It's the perfect counter for multiple short-range shooters because it can satisfy that trade requirement I keep emphasizing due to its similar range. It is also very lethal due to the specials commonly found on these short-range shooters or aggro weapons. These include inkjets, armor, and even splashdowns aren't safe when the Tri is around. The types of maps that the Tri-Nouveau enjoys are the ones with plenty of cover, a lot of height differences, and different angles that it can play around. My favorite map for it would definitely be Humpback Pump Track. You're easily able to sneak up on unsuspecting people and get picks before they even know what happened. Similar maps include Inkbot Art Academy, Mako Mart, and Sturgeon Shipyard. The common playstyle for the Tri-Nouveau isn't super defined now. Not very many players use it. The biggest thing for me is that you need to keep in mind the range of your opponent before shooting, or else you could potentially blow your cover. The best and most consistent way to ensure you're doing your job is by sneaking up on somebody and getting at least one shot off before the opponent knows that you're there. Because each shot takes less than half a second to come out, it's almost always guaranteed to confirm you a kill if you do this. This is why I love Ninja Squid so much. There are 3 common strategies that I employ when I do this. The first one is that I'll hook my way around the opponent's sight lines, hitting them from the side. This often works against shooters, as they will try to track while they paint or paint in windshield wiper motion. That allows you to slip around that edge, allowing you to hit them once before they even know that you're there. This is super useful in more open areas of the map. Another way is by throwing a bomb to force them to do a certain action. I will sometimes throw a bomb at my opponent, forcing them to move towards me, or sometimes to the side. These are really good because it forces them to swim, which means you can get a free slosh off before they even have a chance to shoot back. However, be wary of your surroundings if you try and do this for a potential crossfire from the enemy team. You'll also want to be very aware of your ink tank before doing this. You're going to be taking a significant chunk of your tank, 50 to 70% to be more specific. So this one isn't suggested, but it can be very useful in certain situations. The final and most entertaining strategy to me is sharking till a player feels safe near a ledge. I use this a lot on Humpback for the right and left walls. Most anchors will post up on the higher areas to try and take pot shots from a relatively protected area, but with the Tri-Slosher, those closer ledges aren't safe. If they start to do an action, you will almost always get a minimum of 1 hit, but often it's just a free kill. This also works for anybody sharking. If you see anybody sitting in their ink, trying to fill up their ink tank, spring on them to get that first hit for free, and you'll almost always come out with a kill. Overall, I would call the Tri-Nouveau both an aggro and an anti-aggro. Everything it has in its kit is great for removing threats from the enemy frontline and midlines. The splat bombs are lethal, they break armors, ballers, displays a backliner, and paint. The Inkstorm starts pushes, it splits the map, it breaks armor, it affects every mode, and the Tri itself can remove any threat within its reach, quickly and effectively. If you enjoy playing weapons that are super aggressive and want to take out the enemy front lines, or you just enjoy sharking and having a good time in solo queue, I would definitely recommend the Tri-Slosher Nouveau, as it's very versatile and has a lot of options for your different types of attack. I hope you learned something today and enjoyed this video. Thanks for coming by, and I'll see you next time.